And then we now come to the last section of this workshop. And the speaker is Miss Lucy Clarke. Lucy was trained as an intensive care and neonatal nurse in London, UK. Lucy has been in Hong Kong for more than 25 years. And now she is currently works as the head of medical at Hong Kong Rugby and is studying for her MBA in Clarke University. So that her topic is how to work with the private medical healthcare system in a mega stadium-based event experience in the Hong Kong Sevens. Lucy, please.
Okay, so thank you. First of all, thank you. This is a sports conference, and I'm a little bit worried that you're all getting pressure sores from sitting down too long. So maybe we could just stand up just for a minute. You've been very patient, and have a little bit of a stretch. I won't lead you in your exercises. I'm sure there are other people better placed to do that. That's fantastic. Now, if you fall asleep, you've got no excuse. I'll be looking at you. Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me to give this presentation. And also thank you to all the speakers who've gone before me, because they've really done my job for me, which is fantastic. They've covered everything. Which is good, because that means that I can actually focus on one specific event, which is a Rugby Sevens, which has been referenced quite a lot, and also specifically about how we as a medical team work with both the government but also the private practice, and why we need to do that and how we do that. And that really is my plan. So we're going to talk about rugby. First of all, I'm going to test your knowledge on rugby to see which of you know one end of a rugby ball from another. Talk about Rugby Sevens specifically, and the Rugby Sevens event, and what's involved with that. We're then going to look at, as I say, when and where is it held? When does it take place? Why, as I said, do we work with the private sector? And then importantly, how do we work with the private sector, and what are our key challenges in that? And then hopefully come back with some learning points on that. Okay, so first of all, what is Rugby Sevens? Does anybody here not know what Rugby Sevens is? Be brave. Does everybody see? It's a mega event in Hong Kong, so it's a big event, and hopefully you're all at least familiar with it. Now, first of all though, before we think about Rugby Sevens, we need to think a bit about rugby. Rugby's referenced a lot in sports medicine conferences because rugby is a collision sport. It's not a contact sport, it's a collision sport. I think the collision speed now is something like colliding with a car that's traveling about 35 miles an hour. So there's a lot of force involved. Therefore, we do get injuries. So we need to be prepared for that. We recognize that there are limb-threatening injuries that may occur during the event. So our team need to be particularly prepared to work with these types of injuries, trauma injuries essentially. Okay, that's important for you to just keep in mind. So as people have mentioned, our colleagues have mentioned earlier today, our doctors and medics pitchside need to be specifically trained as well as suitably qualified to work in these kind of events. So can anybody spot the obvious injury here, or obvious? There's a leg. I saw somebody. I noticed. I saw Jonathan there pick up on that one, and Raymond. This is clearly not the way your knee's supposed to be going. So and that's real. Physios as well. Physios and medics, again, there are no specific regulations, if you like, or recommendations for physios working pitchside at rugby events, but you are expected to have the requisite skills and knowledge and proficiency in order to be able to work at this kind of event. Just to explain the Rugby Sevens, the Rugby Sevens is part of the Sevens World Series. So it's 10 events. We have 15 core teams who go to every single one of those 10 events. The events are paired. So typically, for example, in Hong Kong, we're paired. We were previously with Japan. This year, they'll go from Hong Kong to Singapore. So sometimes we're receiving players who've just played, they're paired over 2 weekends. So we may be receiving players who've just played last weekend and maybe coming to Hong Kong with injuries that need following up, or they may be going from Hong Kong with injuries that we therefore need to pass on to wherever they're going to. So there's a lot of continuity. These people, they start in about October usually, and they go all the way through till May, and the event is held. It's about every 6 to 8 weeks that they do their paired competitions. If you divide that up, the 10 over the about six months. So they're on the road. There's a aside from the injuries, we have to deal with travel issues. They're doing long haul flights, so you've got a lot of jet lag and that kind of thing. We're dealing with infections that they've picked up. We're dealing with all sorts of things when they come to us. So we really do need to be sort of prepared for that. Of course, this year, and the Sevens this year, for those of you who know the Sevens well, it's usually the third weekend in March. This year it's actually in April, it's the second weekend in April. That's because of the Olympics. Everything's been pushed back a little bit. We've had the Olympic qualifiers. And of course, that this year is an added incentive. There are 4 teams that are already picked. So Fiji, New Zealand, England, and South Africa are already automatically going to the Olympics. For the rest, it's open house. So it's a big competition. Now, just to explain a little bit more. So again, it is a mega event. It's an MMark event. It's packed, as you saw from the photos. We have 40,000 plus. I think there's a few extras that sneak in there. If you think about all the staff that are there as well, we have at least 40,000 people in the stadium. Thankfully, as a medical team, we don't have to look after the spectators. St John do a great job at that, although we do provide support to St John. If they have a critical case, they often come and call us to see if we can go down and help them in the medical room, but they deal with that. Of course, we've all got sort of stories that we can share and whatever, and if I have time later, I'll share a couple of stories with you about some unusual cases that we've dealt with. But for the time being, so we have 7-a-side rugby, and it's 7 minutes each way. So it's a quick game. It's a very fast game on a full pitch. So it's great spectator sport, in fact, frankly. Now, you need to keep in mind as well that the teams have up to 3 games every day. So they're there from when they arrive all day, basically. In the first day, because they'll have the pool games, and then depending on how successful they are, they'll have more games and more games and more games. So they're playing a lot. They're playing a lot. In addition to the 15 core teams, there are 13 in Hong Kong. We're special. Well, we are special. We like to think we're special, but we are special. We have the biggest Sevens on the circuit, and that's because. And tradition, this is sort of out of tradition, we have 13 extra teams that come in, and these are what we call the qualifiers. So now they play in a different pool. Previously, they all used to play together. So you could have a little team from sort of, let's say, Thailand playing the All Blacks, which was a bit of a mismatch. So now they're in different pools. But that does, again, create some challenges for us, which I'll come to later, when you think of that potential mismatch. Keep in mind as well that the Rugby Sevens is a build-up. There was mentioned earlier, I think Charles mentioned with the Asian Games, how there are so many events going on, and in those 2 weeks, etc. And also there's often a build-up to a lot of these events. We have a whole week. It's a kind of a rugby festival, if you like. So as well as having to manage all these teams that are coming in, needing to train, needing to get organised, needing to play, needing medical care, and they get injured during training, don't forget, during the week, as well as at the event. We have many other tournaments going on at the same time. So we've got sort of local tournaments, international tournaments. The women's Sevens is happening as well, and big event at Hong Kong Football Club, which is all the people who didn't quite make it into the national team to play sevens for their country come and play usually at this one. So we've got a lot of, you know, sort of rock star, superstar athletes, if you like, expecting superstar care throughout the week. So that's just to give you a little bit of an introduction as to what it is. Let me just show you again, just to give you an idea of the atmosphere, etc. If I can.
By the look of it, Colin is sound. There's a chance. Here's a chance for Worksop. Nakuku. Norton, brilliant, but he's got away. Big Vera Malura into Narakarawa, into the hands of Viri. He gets the score. Norton, he's gone one away. Oh, brilliantly, beautifully done.
So last year, 2015, was the 40th anniversary of the Sevens, and the video is made for that. So you can see it's a festival, all right? It really is. It's fun, it's fast, it's furious, and it's a festival. So 3 days, around 350 players from the teams, probably around 150 officials that we also look after, and then there's at least 50 VIPs and probably another 150 who think they're VIPs that we also look after. So now, interestingly, and this is one of our first challenges, the tournament is held, as you may know, at Hong Kong Stadium on Hong Kong side. The Players' Hotel is on Kowloon side. So there's our first challenge, getting all the players, 28 teams across to the stadium and back again and that kind of thing. And again, just as Jonathan said, with closing roads, etc., those of you who know where Olympic House is and the Hong Kong Stadium is know that it's pretty much a dead end. So the traffic around that area is just one of the challenges that we've had is we've sent a player up to get an X-ray, I think it was, on a fractured ankle, got the fractured ankle, I think, wasn't it, Leah, actually, it was you that brought the player back, wasn't it, I think, or tried to. Poor thing, he got his X-ray, he got a pair of crutches. The taxi got it halfway back to the stadium, said, sorry, I can't go any further, the road's closed, and sort of threw out the player, and said, you'll have to walk from here with your crutches. So that was a bit of a challenge. And so it goes on. So again, just to give you an idea as well, I talked about the core teams, I talked about the qualifiers, because this is another sort of key thing that we need to keep in mind. Now that's a busy slide and you can't see really what's going on too much, but the point here is that we have 28 teams and they all, if they're coming into us first, so Hong Kong's first in the pairing, they all arrive about 7 to 10 days earlier. But you can see here, some arrive, this event was on the 27th, 28th of March, some arrived at 19th, whatever. So we've got a few teams coming in very early, and then the majority of them arrive about a week before the event. But you've got 28 teams departing within hours after the event. So the event finishes and boom, off they go because they've got another tournament a week later. So in terms of follow-up, in terms of trying to get people off to hospital after maybe the last game, the final on the Sunday, and getting them sorted, getting them x-rayed, getting them back and getting them onto their plane, it is again a challenge, so following up there. The other thing that I've highlighted here that you may not be able to see, but we have teams come from places like Guyana, Mexico, who maybe have never traveled long haul before, have never been, they have to get passports to get out of the country because they've not been out of the country before. So we're dealing with people like that who are not familiar. It's not like it's their national Olympics team. There's a lot of challenges in that area, if you like. So that hopefully gives you a little bit of a background as to what we manage, what we try when we deal with the Hong Kong Sevens. So why do we need integrated care? We've got a few challenges, and I've just tried to highlight some of them here. You'll have some ideas about more of them. But again, the first thing to remember is that they may not be Olympians, but they are high-performance athletes with high-performance, demands, and they need immediate care and appropriate care. So that's very important to keep in mind. The other thing is that the teams travel with a physio. And again, generally the 15 core teams that are on the circuit all the time, the physios are very, very experienced. And they really do manage their teams extremely well. What they need from us is support in terms of radiology, in terms of maybe specialist consultants, that kind of thing that we manage here. The qualifier teams, the physio may not have met that team before. Some of the Pacific Island teams, for example, they'll bring a physio over from Australia or New Zealand and say, can you travel and can you tour with this team? They just come to the Hong Kong Sevens. So they may not know the team. They may not know certainly the environment. Some of the teams that come, again, have not done this before, the physios are quite young, quite inexperienced. So they need a lot of support from us, from our team. And again, the other thing to keep in mind is that, as I mentioned, it's long-haul travel, and a lot of competition for some. So there's some of our first challenges. And going on from that, I mentioned already the mismatch. Again, the teams that are on the core teams, they're on the circuit. They go from place to place to place. They know what to expect. They know they've got their routine. These are national athletes really, and they're well in the groove. And to be honest, they're fairly independent, but when they want something, they want it quickly and efficiently. But otherwise, they're pretty self-sufficient. The qualifier teams, not so. So they, again, need a lot more care and a lot more support. And often that's in terms of supplies and things like that. They come up, they've got no strapping tape, they've got, all these kind of things as well. And our role really is to help them. Our role is to help them to compete, is to keep them safe, it's to look after their welfare in the best way that we can, and to make it as smooth as possible so that they can compete to the best possible their ability, and without adding any extra stress or problems to them. And at the same time, I say managing the ongoing injuries. So they may arrive with injuries. They may get injuries during training. We've had all sorts of things happen during training, and that means if something happens during training, they're only allowed to travel with a certain number of players. So that would mean that they may have to consider sending that player home and getting another player out. Because even if the player doesn't get here in time to play this competition, they're going straight to the next location and they're going to have to play that. So there's all sorts of things there that we may have to help to organise. And then geography is the other part of our challenge. So as I say, they play on Hong Kong Island at the stadium. They stay in the hotel in Tsim Sha Tsui. They train, so we're here, this is the Sports Institute, and there are pictures around here. They can train anywhere from up in Tuen Mun, these are the main hospitals I've marked, down to actually the south. They can play at the Hong Kong U Sandy Bay on the south side of Hong Kong Island. So they can be anywhere at any time, and I can get a phone call saying, oh, we've got a player who has got an ankle injury, needs an x-ray, whatever, where can I send them? And as Ken mentioned, I can send them to say, well, go to your local government hospital, take a tag, take a book, you might be a while. But that's not acceptable. So I need to make sure that I got a good communication map, if you like, and links with all the hospitals, both government and private, to see if we can get them sorted quickly and efficiently. What will they need doing? Again, just to give you an overview of the specialty services that are not infrequently required. Thankfully, we don't use cardiology too much, although we have had to use it. Max fax, certainly. Dental, sometimes they need a mouse guard made, sometimes they knocked a tooth out, all these things we do use. Orthopedic a lot, sports physicians a lot, radiology a lot, and again, emergency, stitches, that kind of thing. And sometimes they arrive with coughs and colds and things like that too, so it's all those things as well. So how do we integrate, or how do we make this work? And again, this has all been covered by my colleagues here, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. But for us, it's all about connections and relationships, which Vivian mentioned, Charles has mentioned, Jonathan's mentioned, Ken's mentioned. So, but it's really, really important for us, because I'm actually, quite often I'm asking favors. Essentially, I'm saying we've got someone. I don't say can they go, if not to the front of the queue, but could we please get them seen quickly, because they need to get seen and get sorted. They maybe need an X-ray to see if they're fit to play, not fit to play, whatever. So we do meet with the hospitals in advance so that we can set up. I need to have contact numbers, as Ken mentioned, so I can phone straight through to the radiology department, for example, or wherever I need to get to. We meet, we discuss, we brief, we make a plan, and we slightly different for the different hospitals. So we use a combination of the government and the private hospitals. On game day, again, if it's anything major trauma, obviously it's going to go to a government hospital. If it's anything that's not major but needs to be seen quickly, then that's where we thankfully are able to make use of the private hospitals due to the kind of relationship that we've got. We have to, again, insurance is a big thing, it's been mentioned by everybody. It's very, very important. Teams need to know that when they turn up, they can't just automatically just hand their insurance policy to the hospital and say, there you go, please bill my insurance. That won't happen. They need to know they need to pay and claim. They also need to know that in Hong Kong, we don't use chip and pin. We still use a signee credit card, because a lot of people go and they say, oh, I thought it was, my boss, my manager gave me the PIN number. That's not good enough. Sorry, it doesn't work in Hong Kong. So little things like that, as Charles sort of referred to, is kind of preempting what might go wrong. So this is your risk management, if you like. So we talk through. We do send a letter of guarantee. That means we send a letter to the hospital saying, these teams will be coming, here's what will happen. Now, for Hong Kong players, we're lucky enough that we do have a relationship with some of the hospitals where they can direct bill to us because they see our players throughout the season and whatever. For visitors, we make it very clear that, as I said, they will pay and claim. But in order that they can get seen and treated quickly, we have to send all the players' names, passport numbers, and details through to the hospital in advance. They have a list, and they can say they take their team tag with them, just like they do for the big events here, and they can say, okay, your name is blah blah blah. I've got your name here. I've got your ID number, etc. Because the players don't carry their passports when they're on the field, and they don't even carry them to the stadium sometimes. So they need to have this information in advance. Again, pre-event, this has been talked about a lot, and it's no different except to say, again, as well as all the preparation that we do, we have two briefing sessions. One is for the managers, where we're present as medical in case there's any questions, but just to sort of confirm. But we also do a medical briefing with the team medics, so that's usually the physios. Most teams say don't travel with a doctor, where we run through all the facilities available, all the procedures, all the protocols, what are the hand signals, just a reminder where we will be positioned on the field and what they need to do in case they need any support. And we also let them know, again, which specialists are available, etc., and what services will be available both in the hotel as well as at the stadium. So in the hotel, we have a tournament team physician who is there to support the physios, and they are almost like a liaison. And this is interesting. It's a challenge for us. Because it's very hard for us to find a doctor who is able to, who's familiar with sports, familiar with rugby, who's able to take a week off work and be in a hotel for a week and do a clinic in the morning and a clinic in the evening. Now, what we've done, I mean, Ken has kindly doubled up. So basically, he's done a clinic in the morning, he's gone to his normal job around the corner during the day, and he's come back in the evening and done it again. And, you know, we've managed with that. We had another doctor this last year who helped us out. We're actually working, interestingly, we're working with the Medical Council. We've managed to have written into the legislation here that we can, for an event like this, we could get a doctor who has limited practicing ability. So we could bring someone in from overseas if we needed to. And that's been a long, hard road, but we're just trialing that as a bit of a test case at the moment. Again, physios, sorry, how do we integrate in the medical room? I think you've seen this, and Ken has talked about all the things that we may need to do in the medical room. I'm not going to run through that too much more. We have a team over the weekend of about 50 people. We have 3 days in our tournament. So quite a large medical team, and including these, hopefully that's big enough that you can read there what the main roles are without me going through the list. We hope that our team is not like the stretcher bearers that you've seen earlier in the day. We hope that our team is really well drilled, really well practiced, and we don't trip up and embarrass ourselves in front of 40,000 people and about 3 million spectators. I'm sure it's going to happen one day, because things like that happen. You can plan for everything, but so far we've been quite lucky, and we've certainly tried our best to mitigate the risk by practicing. And that brings me on to the last little bit, is our training and this type of specific. People have, my colleagues have spoken about the training that we have to do. We really have very rigorous training in order to deal with the types of injuries that we're going to deal with. So we work with the RFU. Introduced, first of all, the immediate care in sport program that Ken talked about. I haven't got a slide of our website, which I should have up on there, because we are a training centre for the immediate care in sport program that the RFU and World Rugby run as well. We run it here in Hong Kong. But just to give you an idea, again, it is externally validated by the Royal College of Surgeons, Edinburgh. And it's assessed. It's a proven program. It covers an awful lot. It's a lot of it is kind of workshop based, scenario based, etc. There's a lot. There's a pre course learning, online learning, and then it's all workshops. There's a lot of stuff that we get through. So it's a pretty tough course. So just to finish up, really on what I call our event, really the Rugby Sevens, which is in our specific areas. Key learning points, I think, for us. For us, it's balancing the expectations of our performance athletes with the reality of the healthcare system in Hong Kong. Now, the healthcare system in Hong Kong is absolutely fantastic. It's one of the best in the world. Geographically, again, nothing's ever very far away. And both our government and our private healthcare system, I think, are really fantastic. They absolutely are. But they're busy because they're fantastic. Of course, they're busy. So it's just, how do we get access to that, and how do we work with them so that they can work with us? And again, to me, it's all about relationships. When you're going to be pulling favours, and I do pull a lot of favours, then you've really got to have a good relationship. So they know that when, it's Lucy again. Oh, she's going to ask me for something. I know she's going to ask me for something. But thankfully, people are very patient with us. They do understand, and we're able to therefore sort of, really offer a very good service, I think, to the incoming athletes. Hong Kong Sevens, and certainly the medical Hong Kong Sevens, is well known for being the best on the circuit, and we hope we can keep it that way. But that's thanks really we do what is seen. We're like the showcase, if you like, but it's everything else that happens behind the scenes, and all our colleagues in the background, and again, particularly in the hospitals, etc., and everywhere else, that help us to make that happen. preparation and training and explanation, clear explanations to the incoming team so that they know what they will get and what they won't get is very, very important. That avoids a lot of miscommunication. So that really is how I'd like to just finish up. And thank you very much for your time.
See, it's about 5 o'clock, so that it's about still have some time for 1 or 2 questions. Are there any questions from the floor to Lucy and the other speaker except Vivian? Because Vivian just left us because of some family issues. So that are there any questions from the floor on these issues? Okay, I believe that all the speakers deliver one of the very important message to us, that in order to reduce the medical issue problem happening in the sporting event is not by luck, it's by good preparation and good preventive measures. So that hoping that you can get the message from all our speakers when you are preparing your sporting event in the later time of the years, or if you have any problem or anything that you want assistance from all the speakers or the other professionals in Hong Kong, please contact the Hong Kong Association of the Sports Medicine and Science in order for you to get more information from them and then be a member of the association is the best way. Okay? So that if no questions, and then please join me to thank all the speakers again, because they have, in order to prepare this workshop, they have spent a lot of time. And then hoping to see you tomorrow, because we also have the conference tomorrow. And then we'll give you more information about the other aspects of the event management and also the preventive measures on organizing the sporting event. Okay, hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Today's program has come to an end. Thank you for your patience. And tomorrow's program will commence at 9 o'clock, and registration counter on the second floor will open from 8:30 for registration. Signing of the symposium attendance sheets and the CME accreditation application sheets. Thank you for your attention, and we wish you an enjoyable evening. See you tomorrow morning. Thank you.